So today we're going to look at the very interesting chart of Mukesh Ambani, which is said to be the most wealthy man in Asia and India, 57 net worth of 57 billion, CEO of Reliance Telecommunications as well as Viacom and uh, the biggest oil refinery in India. Um, if you look to the eastern horizon when he was born, you would see the constellation associated with Scorpio, the eighth sign, rising at 0 degrees. 0 degrees becomes the most effective point of every house. Any planet that's within 5 degrees of 0 degrees, like um, K2 and Rahu, which are barely within that 5 degrees, as well as Jupiter and Mars, have a lot of impact in his life. So let's look and see how the planets are operating. Then we'll see when they're operating, and then we'll see what we can do to improve the quality of his life. So first, we want to see what the functional nature of the planets. So we know that in every chart, K2 and Rahu, the eclipse of the sun, can create some darkness for some people at some points in their life. So they are functional malefic in everyone's chart. But any multiconal sign, 1, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11, that are found in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house, the planets ruling those signs become functional malefic. So the first sign of Aries, ruled by Mars, is in the 6th house of health and conflicts. So Mars becomes functional malefic, and then the 7th sign of Libra, ruled by Venus, is in the 12th house, and that becomes functional malefic. So let's just look through, see how the planets are operating. Sun is at 6 degrees, it's exalted, and it is ruling the career house. So it says that he can have career through executive leadership, which is the qualities of Sun, the organizational skills, and Sun also represents father. So he inherited his father's business, and it is placed in the house of debts. And so there is a lot of debts with the business, biggest debts in India, basically, and but also gives the ability to overcome enemies, competitors. So he's a great negotiator, and Moon is at 10 degrees. It is ruling the house of good fortune, placed in the house of um, wealth and recognition and continuation of the marital bond. So Moon is said to give good fortune through working with the public. Moon is public, and this is the house of family. So wealth, good fortune comes through the family and from good support from mother. So when the father died, there was no will, and there was a dispute between the two brothers. And mother gave good support to resolve that, so that they divided up the business without a lot of issues. Mars is at 27 degrees. Any planet that's more than 5 degrees, or less than 5 and more than 25, becomes weak. And it's functional malefic, but it's close to the most effective point. So still has a lot of impact in the chart. So Mars is ruling this house of health issues and conflict, and delays, debts, and disputes. And so it is placed in the house of relationships. So it brings some conflict in relationships, but also a great courage to start new businesses and new relationships and overcome competition. Mercury's at 24 degrees. It's ruling the house of income and friendships, and it's placed in the house of health issues and debts and enemies. So it gives income through business and communication. So the whole business is wrapped around telecommunications. He owns the is credited with making the cell phone prices and monthly bills the least in anywhere in the world, and ridiculously cheap. So that he's trying to make all of India have good communication through the cell phone networks. So he established this 4G network throughout India. And Mercury is also ruling this house of sibling rivalry. So there was some. It's in the house of conflict. So brought some conflict with his brother Anil when the father died without any will. Let's see here. Jupiter is at 29 degrees, weak, but again close to the rising sign degree, ruling the house of wealth and recognition and the continuation of the marital bond, placed in the house of career. So gives wealth and recognition through family, and he has two children. Gives Jupiter is related to children, and it also has to do with education and legal issues. So he was not able to complete his education because his father needed him back in India for the business. He was going to Stanford. Um, Venus is ruling this house of debts, expenses, separations, and spiritual growth. And Venus represents wife. So spiritual growth through his wife. She's very spiritual, and she helps spiritual organizations. So that is one of the giving to charities is one way to improve the chart. So I'd say spiritual growth through his beautiful wife and the ability to give to charities. Saturn is at 20 degrees. It is his best planet. It is ruling the house of happiness through home life and property, and has actually the world's most expensive and largest house. It's said to be 60 stories or 26 stories high, and you can look it up online. It's called Antilla, and it's he placed in this house of life purpose. So his purpose and his through family dharma, he was able to expand the business worldwide, and also Saturn is related to oil. They have created the largest oil refinery in India. Part of the business has to do with petrol, and part of it has to do with communications. Rahu and Ketu are at 26 degrees, and they're just barely close to the most effective point. So they can afflict an influence 6 out of his 12 houses. So Ketu gives insights on one hand into overcoming your competitors, your enemies, and then gives desire for spiritual growth and for spiritual wife, and desire for liberation. So he's said to be vegetarian, somewhat spiritual. His wife is even more spiritual. He does not drink alcohol. So those are the main things of the chart. Now let's look at the timing of events. So if we looked at his father, he inherited the business from his father, and the CEO of the company and his father both were kind of out of commission right around 1986. That was during a Rahu period. Or let's see here. Let's just look here for 1 second. So these are the Vimsatari Dasha periods, and they give a good general kind of overview. So yeah, during a Moon Rahu period, father had a stroke, and then the other a CEO of the company had a stroke and died, I think. And so, yeah, during that Rahu period, so Rahu, death like end of life. Um, and then in 2002, during a Rahu period, his father died. And then, so yeah, so again, end of life. And if we look at the transit chart during that period of time, we can see that in 2000, July 6th of 2002, you see Sun, which represents father, going through the house of death-like experiences. And it is very close to, it's at 20 degrees, and Rahu and Ketu are at 23. So, yeah, lot, so yeah, a lot of Rahu and Ketu can cause unexpected calamities and events. So father had a stroke and died, and then in 2014 he had a lot of issues, legal issues with the government due to gas pricing. So if we just take a look at, let's see, February. You can see Jupiter, which is at legal issues, going through the house of transformation and death-like experiences, and then Rahu is at also transiting the house of expenses, legal issues. So let's see here. Jupiter's at 17. Yeah. So those are the timing of events. Now let's look and see what we could do to improve the chart. So let's go back and just see the birth chart itself. I wanted to see in 2014 what period he was going through a Rahu Venus period. So let's see here. So what we could do to improve the chart is we want to transform but not strengthen Ketu, Rahu, Venus, and Mars. All those are the functional malefics. So Rahu is helping people who cannot help themselves. He created a hospital in his mother's name, and then helping spiritual organizations for K2, listening to Ganesh chants on Thursdays, Shiva chants on Saturdays. She gives to all kinds of, his wife gives to all kinds of spiritual organizations. And then Mars is helping men that are like brothers. That's also with the hospital, helping and listening to Hanuman chants on Tuesdays, wearing red. And then, so that's that. And then helping women on Fridays, listening to Lakshmi chants on Fridays. So those are things you want to do for the functional benefics. The functional benefics you want to strengthen through colors and gemstones or a kavash. Kavash is a locket containing the Devata yantras for each of the benefic planets. So by strengthening Sun, you could strengthen his career, his business, or wearing a ruby, wearing orange colors on Sundays. Venus, you can strengthen, well, no, you won't want to strengthen that. Mercury, wearing green on Wednesdays, an emerald on the baby finger, pinky finger, or Kavash would be helping his business and communication business. And Moon, helping Mother by and his good fortune through wearing a moonstone, white colors on Mondays, or Kavash. And then Saturn, blue sapphire, or blue colors on Saturdays, as well as a Kavash. And Jupiter, yellow sapphire, and wearing yellow colors on Thursdays. So those are the main points of the chart. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in astrology reading using transformational Vedic astrology, you can go to www.vastucreations.com. Under services, you'll see lots of different types of astrology readings. They're very accurate and help you navigate through any kind of challenges that you're going through, give you lots of tools to go through life more gracefully. And if you want to learn how to do and get certified as a Vedic astrology, you can go to AmericanInstituteofVastu.com, and we have 2 levels of astrology classes there. Thank you for listening.